Hello and welcome to the Morningscape podcast. I am Matt Moody, joined by DJ Mitchell on this fine Sunday evening to cover the Monday, March 12th Daily Fantasy NHL slate. So, DJ, congrats on St. Bonaventure being in the tournament. I promised that you would not talk about this at all on the podcast. So, how you doing?
Just dancing, that's all. Just going dancing, and I won't even go off. I won't even go off. All right. I have a lot of opinions. If you'd like to hear more about my opinions on the NCAA tournament, bracketology, etc., please reach out to me on Twitter, in the group me, etc. I know most of them are all Bonnie's fans by now. So we will just jump right into the slate instead, because I know most of you don't listen to this to listen to college basketball.
Yeah.
Although, do I miss college sports DFS? But
oh
anyway.
my God, so much. Much. All right. So yeah, the 8 games that we have on this Monday slate are Carolina at the Rangers, Vegas at Philadelphia, Winnipeg at Washington, Montreal at Columbus, Ottawa at Florida, St. Louis at Anaheim, Vancouver at LA, and Detroit at San Jose. So we've got 8 fun little games here. A nice little dichotomy between 4 7 o'clock starts, 7:30, and then 3 10 o'clock starts. So perfect opportunity for some tilt entering the late contest, good old telking, if that's your style of daily fantasy. But let's go game by game here and just kind of break down the slate and see what we've got in front of us. Sound good?
Yeah, definitely. Let's do it.
All right. So we've got Carolina at the Rangers. We know that the Rangers are a team that we just kind of want to target at this point going forward. It appears to me on first glance that Carolina is relatively underpriced given their matchup and their pretty not decent projection, but I would say it's a pretty strong projection against the Rangers. But what are your thoughts here? Are you kind of worried that Carolina could be a trap? I mean, we know Carolina is not one of the better teams in the NHL in terms of goal scoring. So, are you looking to kind of get pieces of this Carolina team, or no?
I do think that they're going to be a bit piled on with their prices being kind of low comparatively to normal. Justin Falk kind of being the one guy at 5-1 that's probably priced accurately. The rest of them seem a bit cheap. They're on the road against the Rangers. I don't know. I definitely like to target the Rangers. I don't think they're quite as bad as people think. And Carolina, I know last time they played was the last time we recorded for the Chicago game, and we were pretty high on them, kind of busted. I ended up really not even being able to play because I had a presentation, which really ended up kind of saving me because I was all over Detroit and Carolina, and I didn't get to enter any of my lineups in. So thanks for that. But the Rangers, I'm interested, but I'm not exactly sure where I want to go. So Carolina is coming off of 3 straight days of rest. Their lines could change. But last game, the Aho Teravainen, actually, that did end up having a goal on the power play. That stack is, I think, going to get piled on a bit. And it was with Falk on the power play, too. I think that could be a really nice stack to have, but it's probably going to be piled on.
Yeah, we got a nice little look at a line that I didn't think I ever expected to think was daily fantasy viable, but Elias Lindholm centering Justin Williams and Brock McGinn. Not only did they have a really strong game last time out, going +2, and I think Williams picked up the goal there, but they played the majority of their time on ice against the Toews line. And, if you've listened to the last couple of weeks, like Jonathan Toews has been incredible, even though the team around him's been like awful, in terms of just like 5-on-5 shot generation. Like he's been a Corsi driver for that team. Lindholm's line owned the Toews line. So, even on the road here where I think get to dictate matchups, I don't expect that Lindholm's line is going to be like focused on or anything. But they played so well last game, like the underlying numbers, that I think it might be worth taking a shot at someone like Williams and Lindholm. They're not on the same power play, but that could be a nice little 1-2 punch there that should be under owned against this Aho Teravainen side of things.
Yeah. Another kind of note just from, but are we still on Carolina? Or can I go back to the Rangers?
You can go to the Rangers.
Tony DeAngelo did play 26 minutes and power play 1 with Buchnevich, Nemestikov, Zibanejad, and Kreider. He's 3,200. I think he could do a lot worse as a punt defenseman. He ended up only with the 2 fantasy points. He didn't have a goal or an assist. He still doesn't have a goal in his career with the Rangers, I'm assuming. So I do think it's a bit risky. Definitely GPP only. But he definitely looks like he's getting a pretty big role there.
Yeah,
For the Rangers. So I think some people might see that and play him.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those slates again where I don't think that the Rangers are obviously a team that I want to target, but just looking at their prices, D'Angelo, you pointed out that's a nice little boost and roll for him, and we know he's an offensively minded player. Zibanejad at 5.3 still, like that's just too low for a guy like Zibanejad who is so puck dominant, especially on the power play. He's kind of their trigger guy. So 5.3 for a guy with historically really, really solid shot numbers and a good bit of offensive upside, playing on first line, first power play like he does. I think there's some cheap value on the Ranger side that, especially at home, could be useful to, just one of those mini stacks. I think not necessarily a full line stack, but just a little.
I think
Go ahead.
think Jeff Skinner could be one of the better values on the slate. I mean, he has really good shot numbers over the past 20 days. Did you already mention this?
No, I didn't. He's just, I don't know what happened. He's just like disappeared.
I mean, last game he had 9 shots on goal. He just hasn't been able to score lately. Like, I do feel like he's a guy that has a case to be, someone that we mentioned, like we mentioned with Saad earlier, where he's getting, I mean, his role isn't as big as Saad's became, but his role is definitely there. And it definitely seems like he's been the trigger guy on his line and on his power play. So I think he's a good value on this slate. I mean, at that price, like Ryan Spooner's only 200 less.
I mean, you're not wrong, but at the same time, like, yeah, he's dominating that power play unit in line that he's on, but it's because they just refuse to move him into basically a better situation. So I'm a bit skeptical. Like, I get that the rate numbers are there, but like in terms of like the aggregate numbers, he just doesn't see the minutes that I feel comfortable with. But this is certainly the matchup where if you just jump on him maybe as a one-off play, you could just run into, like you mentioned, he had 9 shots last game. If one of those goes in, you've got yourself a great play there. So I don't know. I'm pretty much against it personally, just because I like the predictability of minutes, and I don't think that's there with Skinner. But any other thoughts on this game? You mentioned Justin Faulk. Wait, you don't hear me?
I didn't hear you at all. The whole thing you just said, I caught 0 words of. It didn't come through to me at all.
Oh, interesting. Okay. So you mentioned Justin Faulk. Is he someone that you're looking to put into your lineups, or
I think if I'm playing Hurricanes, then yes.
Okay.
That's what I would say there. But
all right, so let's move to Vegas at Philadelphia. Vegas, kind of falling off the rails a little bit. They're dealing with some injuries right now between James Neal and Riley Smith. Both of them are day to day, so I think Riley Smith is confirmed out, and James Neal is unlikely. I think he didn't even travel with might not have traveled with the team. I don't quite recall, but if those two are both out again, we were looking at some really nice value in the Buffalo game over the weekend. Alex Tuck on the top 6, along with Thomas Hyka, kind of getting a boost. Thomas Tatar as well. So some cheaper guys there. But is this Vegas team that's kind of banged up one that you're looking to get a piece of, or are you focusing on the Philadelphia side here?
Honestly, I probably would favor the Philadelphia side at home, with Vegas kind of clearly on a East Coast trip. I think this would be their 3rd or 4th game on the trip on the East Coast. I don't know. Buffalo.
I guess that would be.
Oh, Detroit.
Pretty easy to look up, actually.
They played at CBJ, at Detroit, at Buffalo, and now they're at Philly.
And at New Jersey.
Yeah. One guy that got a bit bigger of a role that we've talked about before is Lindbaum for Philadelphia. I think we did mention that in the chat. We were talking about it a bit. He's 2,900. He had 2nd power play, and he was with Voracek and Patrick at 2,900 on DraftKings. So I think if you're looking for like a super punt, he's definitely there to keep in mind. Wait, what?
I don't know. We have such a sample on him now that he's done literally nothing. So
I know, but that's the problem. Is that he has
Also, add in that Wayne Simmons is back. I feel like that if the Flyers kind of struggle, that Lindblom gets bumped out of the top six and Simmons takes back that role with Voracek and Patrick. So I think there's a little bit too much risk there for me personally. But I mean, I
that's
get why
fine.
you bring it up because we've mentioned it time and again that he has really good, uh, he has a good profile for like
Yeah.
obviously offense because he's a really good prospect coming in. But
All right. Well, we can.
it's not where I'm looking to go.
Okay. So where are you looking to go? I'll just send it to you.
All right. I think Shane Gostisbehere at 5.6 is a really nice play. We dealt with him, above 6K for the last couple weeks. So while he starts to fall again, and guys like Seth Jones and Erik Karlsson to some extent, Keith Yandel get priced up and up and up, I'm looking for the guys who kind of fell a bit in price. So I think Gostisbehere is one of those guys. Um, it's really tough to distinguish between any of the elite tier defensemen on any slate. But I think using the kind of buoyancy, I don't know, the bounciness of the pricing on DraftKings to some extent could be useful in just finding yourself a little bit of extra value. So I like Gostisbehere there at 5.6. And obviously, if you're paying up for the power play, I have no problem with paying up for that in stacking. But I think Gostisbehere as a one-off play is what I'm looking at right now.
Yeah. I mean, the prices are bad for Philly, but they're not at their all-time highest. So, I think Giroux's definitely come down a bit. They were looking at 700 at one point, 7,000. Yeah, he was at 7,000 just a little bit ago. Now he's down to 6.2. Voracek at 6K. It's about, I'd say it's like right on par is what they maybe, I don't know. What do you think? I think they're still a little bit high.
I think Giroux, especially just because he's been so incredible this year, is fine. Giroux, looking back historically, year over year, has been a really great point producer as well. So if I had to pick one winger here, it would be Giroux. I know we love Voracek, but Giroux's been just on a different level this season. So playing with Couturier as well, I think it's really good news for that line in particular. While I don't like Couturier that much, I still think Giroux is, a really, really strong play.
Yeah, I definitely like that kind of mini stack, the Giroux Gostisbehere stack. That could be really profitable tomorrow. And then on the Vegas side, I don't think I'm gonna have too much here. I can't really imagine paying up for any of those like top line guys. I do like some of their defensemen normally, but what do you think?
Let's see. We have
Theodore's,
Nate Schmidt back, right? So
yeah, he was back last game. He had the majority of their minutes.
Yeah, so they're kind of at full strength defensively, which kind of takes away from a guy like Brad Hunt, who I like when he's stepping in to fill a role. Theodore's there, but this isn't a matchup where I'm looking to stack Vegas, and Theodore's really a stacking only option to me. And Colin Miller's been priced way up, I believe. So
yeah, and he's definitely like his role's gone down as well.
Oh yeah. No thanks on Colin
Miller. Yeah, I can't imagine it.
All right.
Yeah, I'm good to move on.
All right, let's go to Winnipeg at Washington, the battle of the Lines versus the Alex Ovechkins. So they are the two highest priced wingers on the slate. We know that Mark Scheifele is, well, I guess we don't know that he's out. We've done this many a time, but I would assume he's out. I mean, Winnipeg has it all wrapped up essentially. They're not catching Nashville unless Nashville falls apart, and I don't think they're getting caught from behind. So I would expect Scheifele to be out. That kind of pushes Laine's role up a tier because he kind of goes from, I wouldn't say third line minutes, but definitely like third line usage in that he's only going out the offensive zone and things like that. And now they're just kind of out in all situations. He's on an incredible goal scoring streak. I mean, it's gotten ridiculous to, just fading Laine should not be this scary because the guy averages like 2.5 shots a game, but it just doesn't matter because those shots are so ridiculous. So what do you think about this Stastny, Laine, Ehlers line? Are you buying in, at their heightened prices? Or maybe the Washington side could be a bit more under the radar.
Yeah, I don't think I'm going to pay up for that Winnipeg line. It's just too expensive. I think you could do better than it. 6,000. I mean, all these guys are above 6K. I can't imagine it could. I could stack it and feel good about it. Especially with Eller still being on that second power play unit. Armia actually has stepped up to the first unit. It looks like with Buffalo, Wheeler, Line, and Stastny. So Armia only getting like 11 minutes last game, but power play one. I don't think I'll have that personally. Just kind of mentioning that. I don't think I'll have it. I do kind of like this Washington side. They actually had a different look last game with Ovechkin, with Kuznetsov and Wilson. I don't know if that was just last game or if that was game
Yeah,
before as well.
it was just last game.
Yeah,
So
and
that
then
was kind of like the breaking news of the weekend.
Frana was with Eller and Oshie, and then Burakovsky with Backstrom and Connolly. So like really kind of spreading the wealth on those three lines. They didn't have a single power play last game, but you would still assume their first unit would look, Kuznetsov, Ovechkin, Oshie, Backstrom, what's his name, Carlson. So I don't know. I'm probably looking at this. I really don't think I'm going to have much of this game. The pieces I want are just kind of too expensive, and I don't think they're worth the price right now. I think Kuznetsov, Ovechkin still could possibly be overlooked, so maybe I'd look there, but that's about it.
Yeah. Also adding Carlson to your that Kuznetsov, Ov, Carlson, I think is in play, but it's not really something that I'm overly ambitious on. I think this game in general should profile to be a bit of a snoozer. But I think if I had to pick one place in this game, it would be that Stastny Line stack. Even though Paul Stastny has gotten really expensive really fast, I think that, like I said, the roles are kind of condensed with Scheifele out. So Stastny's gonna play his 18 to 19 minutes. He's gonna be on the first power play, and he and Line have massive upside. Obviously, Line always does. So I think that's my favorite stack from this game. But yeah, that kind of a fade on Ovi for me right now. I will come to rue those words, but Winnipeg's just too good for me to want to target.
That's fair. All right, you just want to move on to Montreal at Columbus?
Yeah, the quickest riser of the past week, Artemi Panarin at 7,200. I'm just going to speak for the both of us and say that we're probably fading that, correct? Good Lord.
Yeah.
That happened fast.
A bit pricey for my liking.
Hope,
Dubois' price has gone way up as well, and Atkinson. They've all just.
Yep.
I mean, I definitely that's the morning skate bump. So we all expected it. We all knew it was going to happen. We've been calling them for a few days, and this is what's going to happen.
No, that is very true. The Seth Jones back-to-back massive smash nights, 6,500 now. Like,
yeah,
just obviously it could happen again. Like you look at the game logs, they're right there. But I just don't think it's smart, like from a economic standpoint, to expect guys who were mid 5Ks just last game to all of a sudden be great plays at mid 7Ks against a Montreal team that's like 6 to 7Ks against a Montreal team that they're bad, but they're not the worst, especially like defensively. So I'm really looking to stay away from that big time. Are you noticing any value either on the Montreal side or maybe these deeper Columbus lines that kind of has you intrigued?
I mean, there is definitely value, especially on Montreal's point with Riley taking over on the first power play. But I don't know how much I actually like him as a DFS defenseman. I know he kind of came into the league and people thought he could end up being a pretty good offensive upside player. As of late, he's had pretty big minutes, a pretty big role, but I don't know if it's definitely not safe. But at 3,100, I think you could do worse. On Columbus, I've always kind of been a fan of Bjorkstrand Milano, but still, like the minutes aren't there, especially for Milano. It's going to be really tough for me to find pieces of this game I want. So I'd say it's probably going to end up being a fade for me.
Yeah, I hear you. Tortorella's kind of turned this team into a roll the four lines after the trade deadline. Like they picked up Letestu and Vanek, and I think he's kind of using them, and I think he's using them in a better scenarios. Like I like the way that this team has been playing lately. Getting Vanek out in offensive zone things like that I think are really good for like the overall health of the team that I don't think are great for like daily fantasy wise. So yeah, I'm looking to stay away mostly from this game. You mentioned Mike Riley. I do like him. I do have hesitations, like you said, about like his actual, involvedness in terms of like shot rate and, block shots too. but 3,100 for first power play time. It's you you can certainly do worse. Let me just say it that way.
Yeah.
So 22 minutes last game, playing alongside Jeff Petrie, which I think is the big key for him. If he's not playing alongside Petrie, I am a bit more skeptical of his like cash viability. But I think in tournaments, if you're looking for just a pure punt, that he makes sense. So, any other thoughts here?
Not really.
So let's go to Ottawa at Florida. I don't know if you caught this over the weekend, DJ, but Florida played the Rangers at home on Saturday night, and they had a 4.0 implied team total. 4.0.
That's pretty high.
And they lost in a shootout. I mean, they still pretty much smashed, but not smashed, but they did fine. Scored 3 goals, but it's just one of those things. It's really funny. Probably the main news to come out of that is Frank, the DFS GOAT Vatrano, stepped in the top 6 for Florida and did not disappoint. Easily my biggest regret on Saturday night, outside of fading McDavid. I went into the Fantasy Lab show saying like, hey, play McDavid, play Vatrano, and then just stack around these other, fools like Pittsburgh and Florida, see what's up. But McDavid and Vatrano each just absolutely wrecked, and I had neither of them. So I kind of sank my battleship right away. 3,700 though for Vatrano. I mean, we saw what we liked on Saturday night. He had 5 shots on goal. Like he was super involved. Obviously, the coaching staff liked him. He played 19 minutes and jumped onto that second power play unit for Florida. Are you considering him a lock until we, learn more about kind of how they're going to use him in games where he doesn't score goals kind of right away? Are you a bit hesitant to jump on?
No, I'm all aboard. I think this is a good matchup for him. Him with Trocheck, Huberdeau, that's a great line. I think he's actually better. I mean, the thing is like you can watch hockey all you want, but like understanding why a player like Vatrano doesn't get as good of a look in Boston and then gets moved, I didn't get it. It seemed like whenever he was on the ice, he was producing, but I guess then again, like I'm not a scout, so I'm not going to sit here and say anything. But he's just a really good DFS player in general. He loves to shoot the puck. And I think on that line, he could definitely flourish. And if he's going to get 19 minutes, which is a huge jump from anything he had in Boston, then like I am all aboard at this price. And I mean, power play 2 is fine. You can get a really cheap stack with him and Matheson. That I've always kind of been a fan of Matheson. So actually, he's gone up way up in price too because he's been smashing lately.
Yeah. An interesting monkey wrench in the Vatrano situation is that it appears Dennis Malgin could be ready to go. I know, DJ, I said it a different way again just because why not? But Malgin could be back, which really makes Vatrano's Saturday night performance kind of a bit more up in the air just because, like I said, if he has a bad couple shifts or something, he could get demoted to that bottom 6. And in Florida, of all the places, you do not want to be playing on the bottom 6 for daily fantasy relevancy because it'll be Barkov, Trocheck, Barkov with Trocheck, third line. Barkov, just one of those things where the bottom 6 doesn't get as much minutes. So definitely something to keep an eye on that I think people could overlook. If even if Malgin plays and is dressed on the third line, that just his presence there enters a lot of uncertainty into Vatrano's overall projection.
I guess that's true. What do you think about because I mean Nick Bukestad has been really good as of late. His price definitely shows that. Do you think there's any merit to him stacking him with Barkov still?
I think there is, just because he's been such a great shot generator at 5-on-5. It's not something that I love just because I don't think you're getting much value on Barkov anymore. But if you look at, I'm looking at the last 20 games now for like in the NHL, Bukestad's 5th in the NHL in shots per 60. Like he has been as advertised, like playing alongside Barkov. Maybe Barkov's been as advertised would be a more apt way to say it. So I have trouble paying these prices for Florida guys. Like I'm just so price sensitive when it comes to this stuff that I'm probably not going to do it. But I certainly, I will be all aboard if you decide to just say like, screw it, they've been so good, I'm just going to stack them.
Yeah, I understand that. Is there any thoughts on the Ottawa side or anything left on Florida you wanted to mention?
Mike Hoffman is a hockey player.
Mm.
I do like both sides of this game. I should say that Ottawa's been playing pretty well as of late. Um, you know, they. I know I said that before the Calgary game, I think on Friday night, and they disappointed. But with that said, we've got John Gabriel Pajot playing that first line, first power play role for them. He's absolutely been smashing. Just the shot numbers have been through the roof. Obviously, his role is really secure. So I think for 3.8, he's your top value center on this slate. I really like that play. And then you can stack him with a guy like Mark Stone, who is his 5-on-5 partner, or you can look to the power play where he's playing alongside that Hoffman, Duchesne, Carlson, and Stone as well. So,
Yeah,
but I do
and
really
these
like
are,
Peugeot.
as you say, these are both teams that have really been giving their top guys top minutes. So any way you want to stack it, you're gonna get like the top kind of like minutes guys with power play upside. Yeah, I definitely like this game a lot. I don't think that I'll fade this one. I would say this one's probably in my top three for sure.
All right, so let's go to the late games here. So those were the early games, and now we've got the 10 o'clock starters. Let's start with St. Louis at Anaheim. St. Louis, just, I mean, we've been talking for weeks about how St. Louis can't do anything. They've been just dead offensively. They go into LA on like a casual Saturday afternoon hockey game and just rip the hearts out of the LA Kings, who are still, thick in the playoff race. 7-2. Like, good lord. Do you think that carries forward here? I have another interesting note for after you say something, I guess. 'Cause
Okay,
I found
just
this.
say
All
it.
right, I found this really hilarious. Do you remember Sammy Blaze? To like,
Yeah, I think it was
who?
wasn't it, whatever. Just
Yeah,
say it.
whatever. He
We'll go
came
with
up.
Blaze.
He came up in the NHL and he never shot the puck, never did anything. We always talked about him, like, top six, but you just can't play him. In the AHL today, he had a hat trick.
Hmm.
Like,
On two
so
shots. Ah,
yeah. So I mean, that's just hockey for you.
one of
But
them he passed it in.
so yeah, I saw that and I was just like, oh my god, DJ's gonna love that one.
Yeah.
Um,
So my question to you would be: do you think St. Louis is dead in the playoff race? I mean, obviously 3 points down. They have a couple games on hand at Calgary, who's 1 point ahead of them, and then one game in hand at the Stars, who are 5 points ahead of them. Like, what do you think? Are they dead? They're
uh,
obviously like the last team in the West that could sneak in.
yeah, no, they're not. I mean, I actually like their odds better than Calgary. As sad as that is to say, like, I don't know what to make of the Flames, man. They have no depth outside of Giordano and Hamilton, so I think they could make a run. I do think that Colorado, with McKinnon back, fingers crossed he stays healthy. I think they kind of make the run here. Um,
Mhm.
but I don't know. It's obviously predicting the results of hockey games is not what we're doing. We're trying to predict the results of individual players in those games, which I think is actually much easier personally. So it will be fun to follow down the stretch though, because we're
Yeah,
we're in the game. It's a time where everything matters. So
definitely.
should be fun.
I would say that this game though, I do really like it from a DFS perspective. I like both sides of this game. The Tarasenko Shen Swartz line was all back together. They dominated. They're extremely fun, and I feel like you're definitely getting them at, I would say, their lowest point of the season as
Oh
far as
yeah.
price by far. I definitely would consider stacking that whole line tomorrow. On the other hand, the players on Anaheim are a bit expensive still. I do think that Anaheim, like Henrique, are we going with Kasha or are we going with Case?
It's Kasha for sure.
I always thought it was Kasha, and then I thought you said Case one show, and I was like, what? I kind of like them. You're not really getting parlay correlation there, but I really like Kasha as a DFS player. He's kind of like a poor man's Line, I would
Yeah,
say.
I've jumped off of the Kasha bandwagon for
Well,
sure. He's
I'm never getting off of it.
he's
I
just he's not getting the minutes. Pretty sad, but
3-7 though. He's still getting 15-ish minutes. I
yeah,
mean,
those
I think
the
you could be
price has
worse.
fallen. Yeah,
Yeah,
no,
the price is
I see
down low
that.
enough where I
Yeah,
think it's okay. And then Silverberg Kessler, I think one night that's going to make someone very, very rich. But it's never on the night that I play it. And Silverberg just decided that he's off the power play. Well, I guess it wasn't probably his decision, but he just isn't on the power play anymore. Like he's at 4 or 5, and I want to play him so bad because I think he's a really good player.
He
Um,
walked into the coach's office like, "Coach, I'm off.
I'm off.
I don't want to be on the power. It's too easy. This game of
Not tonight.
hockey is too easy." So,
Kessler is like, I'm not going to shoot the puck. I'm not doing it. I only want 6 goals this season. Enough for me. 6 goals, 9 points. What he wants to finish with. So I guess what I'm trying to say is there's a lot of value on Anaheim that doesn't seem that safe, but I do kind of like Henrique as even just a one-off. And then I really do like that Senko, Schwartz, Chen line.
yeah,
You think I piled on though?
Man, that's such a tough question because that is the ultimate like recency bias last game versus recency bias like the past month because St. Louis has been god awful. So I don't think it'll be, I don't think it'll be overly like I think if you like them and you get like 30% of that line, you'll be overweight on the field by at least double. So I think that's probably like how I would attack it if I was doing like multi-entry. Like I would just try to double the field, not go all in on them. Because I do think Anaheim's a pretty good team. St. Louis on the road, I don't really trust it, so um, I would tread lightly for sure. I do want to mention that given the kind of context of this slate, where guys on Florida and Columbus have been priced way up, um, the Raquel Getzlaff stack, I think this makes a lot more sense on this slate in particular. I really like them here. And Montour's still hanging on to that first power play job. Fowler joined him last game, so that's a little bit different. They kind of went 2D, whereas before it was Getzlaff with Montour at the points. So, Montour hasn't been great, but the price has, for whatever reason, the price went up. And now the price is coming back down, even though his role hasn't changed. The minutes, if anything, have increased for him. Like, he's just playing such a safe role right now that I think 4,000, he's not been great. Like, let me reiterate that, but he has really good upside. We've seen it before. And for this price, you're not going to find many other good matchup, top 4, power play 1 defensemen, for this cheap. So,
and then I guess last guy I want to mention for this game, Alex Pietrangelo has been really, really, really good lately. His price is finally kind of coming back up. At 5.7, I do think it's pretty fair. Especially if you're going to stack St. Louis, I think you're going to want a piece of him.
Yeah, and they reinstated him on the top power play unit as well, which is good.
We mentioned last podcast, but
it's good to see for that, for those purposes. So if you are stacking, Pietrangelo does make sense there as well.
I just think he's a really good defenseman, and that's why he should be getting that kind of role. Like if they want to make the playoffs, they need him on the ice a ton. But we can move on to the final 2 games if you are ready.
All right, Vancouver on a back-to-back at LA. Vancouver is in Arizona tonight, so that's actually probably I don't know. I don't want to call it a trap spot, but man, road back-to-back, LA. Man, I can't do it. I can't, in good conscience say that, paying 6.6 for like a guy like Jeff Carter, who is really good, but really expensive. Dustin Brown, Tyler Toffoli. I don't know. Are you more excited about it than I am?
Not really. I don't think there's going to be a ton of pace in this game. That's kind of just my initial thought. I mean, Pearson did play on the top line last game with Kopitar Brown, correct? But what about power play? Was not on their power play, I don't believe.
Muzzin was back on the top power play for a little bit. And who knows what they're going to do, but
I feel like this is a bit of a trap. I probably won't have any pieces of it, but if I was going to have any piece, I feel like it ended up being Toffoli. I just feel like he's just like a bit too expensive for me to end up actually having him, but I really do kind of like him as a DFS player, and I don't know.
All right, I think I'm going to be a little bit silly here and say if I was going to pick one player from this game, it'd actually be Kopitar.
I've never heard you say that.
I know, right? I'm going to look at his ownership lately just to make sure I'm not like going crazy, but I feel like he is never, ever owned.
At that price, I feel like you're always trying to finding someone that's a bit of a better option.
Right. So, I said it for the Anaheim part, like DraftKings, give them credit. They've really adjusted these prices upwards on the guys who we've been looking at, heavily over the last little bit. So here's just a sampling of the last 10 or so games. 1% 2%, 2%, 20% against the Blackhawks, where I think they got smoked in that game. Or no, that was before that. 1%, 5%, 10%, 7%, 1%, 7%, 2%. Like, he
Pretty
is
low.
really, really low. This could be a spot that catches the radar of some people, but I think on a slate such as this, where there are a lot of top tier centers to pay up for, but none that I in particular like all that much. There's no there's no McDavid on this slate, right? Yeah, no McDavid, no Pittsburgh guys. I kind of like Kopitar here, and combine him with the Doughty, who the sim always loves. I think that Doughty has some nice upside too. I wouldn't trust Doughty in cash per se, but I do like kind of that mini stack of Kopitar and Doughty. Just expect them to play their 22 minutes for Kopitar and 26 for Doughty. And I think you're getting really good value on their prices on this slate in particular. So,
all right, that's fine. I don't have any interest in Vancouver, so we can just move on to last game.
Yeah, I think that's valid.
I speak for everyone. Okay, so final game, we have San Jose at home against the Red Wings. San Jose guys are very priced up in this matchup. The Martin Jones, I think, is like the second highest priced goalie on the slate. I don't personally love targeting Detroit, although clearly DraftKings pricing is making it even more enticing to fade this game. But I do feel like, the Kane, Pavelski, Burns stack has been very, very good. But what are your thoughts?
I mean, Kane's been great since he's gotten there.
I think he was good before, but like being on Buffalo just crushes everyone.
Yeah, I mean, very true.
Their fans.
But the prices, it's tough. I can definitely get on board with Burns, because Burns is Burns. But man, it's been a while since I've gotten one of those monster Burns games on my team, and that takes a toll on you after a while. Like, every time, if you just go, oh, Brent Burns is gonna smash, and he never does, like it wears on you. So I do think this matchup. Damn, I had Edmonton in instead of Detroit in the
I saw that
thing I sent you. So that I was like, man,
that.
why is? But yeah, that's
when you said McDavid isn't playing. I was like, no, and I was like, wait, why did I feel like I just saw Edmonton was on the slate, and then I looked. I was like, oh yeah, because you told me they were.
Yeah.
So that assumes Edmonton's in. Is that why that's being like that?
Yeah. I just wrote Edmonton instead of Detroit, which is sad. I guess I just really wanted to play McDavid.
Okay, so back to reality here. Is there anyone on Detroit before we dive more into San Jose? Why don't we just look at, because I'm kind of leaning heavily towards no, but
yeah, Larkin again. I mentioned him the last Thursday we did. I was like, oh, he's got 14 shots on goal in his last 2 games. He's going to score. He had 5 shots on goal in that game. Didn't score. His price is still down at 5,000. He's still got 40 shots in his last 10 games. If you're looking for like a great regression spot, when a guy's averaging 3.5 points per game without a goal for 5K, it makes sense. We've lost guys like Dubois, Stastny, even Kuznetsov to some extent up the pricing ladder. So I do like Zibanejad and Shen better personally, but if you're looking in that range and either of those two stand out to you, Larkin is like a solid play, but nothing that I'm gonna play on one team or anything like that.
Wait, hold on a second. Keep talking.
All right. So yeah, that's pretty much it on the Detroit side. I don't see any defensemen here that I like. So for San Jose, DJ did mention that top line of Kane, Donskoy, and Pavelski. Against the Capitals, they shook things up a little bit. It seemed like they moved Couture up to the top line, which is interesting to say the least. I can't imagine that holds, but it was interesting that Evander Kane, still on that first power play, played 22 minutes to lead the team, actually. Like, they're doing everything possible to get him involved. So while I feel really leery paying for that when, we let it off with Ovechkin versus Laine for about 500 more than Kane is, I think you can make an argument for Kane, and it's not a bad one either. So, DJ, you back?
Yeah, I'm back. Sorry.
All right. So if you had to rate, Kane on the scale of this slate, would you say he's? Sorry, I should let you just talk about San Jose because you mentioned them. I wasn't sure where you were leaning on them. However,
Uh, I mean, where am I leaning on that? I said off the beginning, I don't feel like I'm going to be able to pay up for those top guys. Although I do think you're making a fair point about them. Um, they, I think if you looked at just last game, it's kind of a bad example of this, but I do kind of feel like there could be some value on this team, off of that first line. Although I don't know if I'm going to target it too much here. Well, what do you think of like other guys on San Jose? Because their lines last game look like they got really jumbled. But what if we get like a Hurdle Timo Mayer line? I know it's kind of targeting the second power play, which sees some burns. But would you have any interest in it now that it's like pretty cheap?
um, yeah, I think the only place that I would be looking to go is to that Kevin Labanc if he jumps up to the first line. Um, I'm trying to focus in on the power play roles that we know of, like right now.
Yeah,
If I'm not playing a guy like Petrano, I think getting a guy like Labanc who has that first power play job and could, get a bump to a top six line. I think that would make more sense than going somewhere like I priced up Donskoy or even Timo Meyer at 4.4. I don't think that price is great for the lack of, I guess, offensive usage he's getting currently. So,
that's
I
fair. I don't know. I think I'm gonna fade this game personally. If I was gonna have any piece, it would probably just be Burns one off. I think there's enough value on this slate where you could do it. Although, yeah, like you mentioned, the Burns one off might not have worked out for everyone lately, but there definitely have been some gems in there.
all
So
right. Yeah, so before we do guaranteed goals and our line stacks, I just want to do a quick run through of like the relative value spots that we found, just because I feel like that's useful to kind of tie things up at the end. So looking at Carolina, New York, I mentioned Zibanejad, you mentioned D'Angelo. I think those two make sense. Lindholm as like a cheaper center. Vegas, Philly, we kind of stumbled into those Vegas forwards, but didn't like them too much. So keep an eye on, a Haika or something, but not too much to speak of there. Alex Tuck, probably the main one. Winnipeg, Washington, didn't really mention anyone. Montreal, Mike Riley. I think that makes, good amount of sense if you're looking to punt defense. Ottawa, Florida, Vetrano, and Peugeot, I think are solid plays. St. Louis, you mentioned that top line is really priced down at the moment. Anaheim has Montour. Vancouver, LA. Yikes, yeah, didn't really find any value there. I think you can on Vancouver, but it's just not worth playing. And then Detroit, San Jose. You mentioned a bit of Timo. I mentioned LeBanc. See where they end up in the tops. If they end up in the top six. But all right, so just wanted to give that rundown, just to kind of keep things fresh for
it's a great rundown, Matt. Great
yeah,
rundown.
let's do the top lines. Do you have a stack in mind that you're looking to jam in right away?
Honestly, I'm kind of stuck between Philly and some Florida, but I think I honestly would go with Giroux, and Goss's
Nice,
there, and
nice.
then I don't know if I'd put anyone else there. I definitely you could consider Couturier. He definitely can do the job. I don't think
Yeah.
he's quite like out. At one point he was 7K, and then there's just no way.
Mhm.
But he's been pretty cold as of late, and I think this could be a decent bounce back spot for them altogether.
I like Simmons there too at his price.
Yeah,
Just
Simmons is
getting
pretty
that power
cheap.
play stack, it's risky, but if you're stacking that power play, I mean, Simmons is one of the best at cleaning up net front garbage, which Giroux and Goss's pair could certainly create. So I do like where you're going with that one. I will start with my more expensive. I really like Anaheim here. So Raquel, Getzlaff, Montour, just the Stones. You can get
Yeah.
away with Corey Perry, but I think that without the first power play role, that he didn't see first power play time last game. I'm a bit more hesitant to go to him, even though he does play with the two at 5-5-5.
All right, and then I mean St. Louis won. I think we just want to both agree on that being a really good sack, but not kind of include it because I feel like
Uh,
it'd be
no,
it'd be
I don't actually, I don't love him all that much. I mean,
okay.
so if you're gonna kind of not go out on a limb, I think you make good points about him, and there is a point. There is a defense to be made for it. So, are you including them as one of your top sacks on the night?
Yeah, I think at the price it absolutely is.
Nice. Okay.
Like perfect correlation, perfect everything. Include Pietrangelo in it, and maybe you could even leave off. No, I probably would go all four of them. Honestly, I think if you're gonna go all in, you might as well go all in.
All right. I appreciate it. I do like what they did last game. I mean, that was really impressive last game, but I just can't get out the last month of them just dragging through the mud. But I
Well,
won't.
they haven't
I
been
won't.
playing together.
That's true. All right. I'm gonna go with on the cheaper side. Unless I want to get stupid and say, oh, game stack Peugeot and Vetrano, I'm gonna go with
Cool.
Peugeot and Peugeot, Hoffman, Duchesne. Um, I think that those three on the power play could combine to do something pretty nice. Mark Stone is just a little bit too expensive for me at 6.1. Oh, actually, sorry. I guess I missed this morning. Mark Stone won't even make the trip to Florida for the
Ooh.
games. So that's man, that leaves a power play role up on the first power play. That solidifies Peugeot's role in the first power play, just because if they have no other guys who would immediately replace him. But so yeah, I guess that's interesting. Hoffman Duchesne though, I think is really nice for tournaments, and gonna look to get a little piece of him. And Peugeot on the power play makes sense. I think Stone being out impacts that a little bit, but um, I'll make that decision probably closer to game time when we see who they replace on the top six for Mark Stone.
Yeah, definitely. All right. Why don't we do our guaranteed goals and get out of here? This is tough. I feel like all the guys I'm like landing on are the guys that are in my stacks already.
All right, I'm gonna go with Mika Zibanejad for my cheaper 5.3. I think he's just a really strong one-off play here, and that leaves me with just a shade under 7,000 for the second guy. So, did you come up with one of yours just yet?
I'll just go with. I think I'm gonna go with. Oh wow, Trochek's so expensive. How did I not even?
Yeah, right.
Oh my god, I don't know why
Nuts.
I thought he was 6'4". Now I'm realizing he's 7'4". Um, holy my lord. I mean, I want to go Drew, but I feel like I was in my stack. But you know what? I don't care. I'm gonna go Drew. Drew at 6'2", and that leaves me with what, like 5-ish. I'll go
Yeah.
Skinner and Drew.
Okay. Man, this is a tougher range than I anticipated immediately. Um, I'm gonna go with Paul Stastny. First power play, maybe Line gets a rip on net and the rebound just plots itself right on Stastny's stick, and that's how that cookie crumbles. So, um, yeah, I will go with Zibanejad and Stastny. Don't feel great about the Stastny call, but um, you know, gotta gotta fit it in somehow. I can't get the Raquel, I can't get the Getzlaff, so let's go a bit cheaper.
All right, so close this off. Definitely get in the group me. We've had at least one more join as of late. It's been fun. I like hopefully can get back to like a more regular schedule of being in there and giving news. As this last week was pretty crazy with presentations and stuff. Definitely root for the Bonnies. If you don't have anyone to root for in the NCAA tournament, just put all of your money, take out a new mortgage, etc. Put them in the championship in all of your brackets. You'll be fine. And what else? Is there anything else going on? Are you doing anything cool?
Not really. I've been jumping on labs a lot more on the weekends just to do videos, but those are premium only. So, obviously, if you're looking to subscribe to Fantasy Labs, do it. But it's I understand if you don't. It's pretty expensive, and it's not necessarily for everyone. But yeah, really got nothing too great going on. We've just been chugging along down the stretch here.
We had the winners of the listener league.
Oh, good call. Good call.
Good call. Good call. Let me. So you have them pulled up or no?
I do not.
All right, I probably can find them pretty quick. I know one of them was. Hold on. You know what? It should not take long. All right, here it is. All right, so the results of the listener league. We had Stalls 18, who is like Travis Johnson, I think, right?
Oh man, I couldn't tell you the linkage between DK name and.
I think it is. I'm not sure. Either way, Stalls 18 and No Angle Just Angle 2. Or no, no, they were the two winners. They both had two wins. No Angle, just
Yes.
Angle, who was my favorite because he had like every second place finish in the world in like one of the months. So
Yeah.
congratulations. Let us know in the group me who you are because honestly, I'm not positive. I think I'm right on one of them, but I don't know for sure. And then you guys need to play a head to head. We'll pick the winner, and then probably talk about it. Well, maybe Matt will just talk about it alone Tuesday night into Wednesday because I'll be watching the Bonnies. Okay.
Yeah. Well, for as far as podcasts go, the schedule looks like Tuesday morning and Thursday morning. There should be pods for daily fantasy hockey. Wednesday's not like a big slate,
Oh,
so
it's not. Oh,
no,
good. Never mind. I think I just misread your text. All right. Is there anything else?
probably.
Close it down.
No, I don't think so. So, thank you for listening, everybody. Best of luck on the slate. So, from Doug, from DJ, and from myself, have a good slate, everybody, and we will see ya.